What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to continue my 2023 schedule preview / projected records for the upcoming 2023 college football season, and we continue them with the Oregon State Beavers. Here's the schedule last year for the Oregon State Beavers. You see the overall record for this team last year. 10-3 overall record last year in 2022 for this Oregon State team. They had a pretty good season last year. They weren't one of those surprise teams heading into last year. And I think I got their record pretty much right, perhaps. I don't really know. Maybe I'll go back and watch those prediction videos and everything. But you look at who they played on the schedule. They played Boise State and Fresno State out of the non-conference, and also Montana State. So they didn't have too tough of a non-conference schedule. When you look at who they played in the Pac-12, of course, there were no Pac-12 divisions last year, but obviously they had losses to USC. That's a game they probably could have won there. They lost that game at home, and then they lost on the road to Utah, and then Washington on the road, another game that they probably could have won. But obviously they beat Oregon. That was probably their biggest win from last year, so definitely high expectations for this Oregon State team heading into 2023. Of course, DJ Uiagalelei coming over. What is he going to be like heading into the Oregon State transfer portal? So, yeah, if he can stay consistent, Oregon State's going to have a really terrific year. But again, an overall record of 10-3 last year for this Oregon State team. Here's the schedule for 2023 for Oregon State. And out of the non-conference, they'll play San Jose State on the road, UC Davis, and then San Diego State. Both of those games will be at home. So, not too tough of a non-conference schedule. Probably one of the easiest non-conference schedules, probably in the Pac-12. San Jose State, that will be on the road, but it's a game they really should no doubt be a favorite in. And UC Davis and San Diego State, those are cupcake games that you get at home. Of course, no divisions in the Pac-12, so let's go game by game now. So they'll start with 3 non-conference games to kick off the months of September. Obviously, San Jose State will be on the road. UC Davis and San Diego State will both be at home. And then they'll open up Pac-12 play against Washington State here on the road. And then they'll play Utah here on September the 29th. This game will be on a Friday. Definitely a game that can go either way. Of course, Cam Rising coming back at quarterback. That's a huge return for Utah. And then they'll get to the month of October. They'll play Cal here on the road. Obviously, when it comes to Cal, they pretty much can pull off some upsets. But I think overall, Cal, I really don't know what they're going to look like just yet. UCLA here on October the 14th. Arizona on the road. They'll get a bye week before playing this game. Arizona probably will be a tough road game, but I don't think Oregon State probably will have problems in that game. And this is also based off of the teams from last year. And then Oregon State will play Colorado here on the road. This is a team that you don't want to play in November. A game that could potentially be a tough one here for Oregon State, but Colorado, I really don't think they're going to be in the right direction just yet until maybe next year, maybe 3 years to come. I know Deion Sanders is recruiting well down there, but like I said, it's just the first year. We don't really know what they're going to look like just yet. And they'll play Stanford here on November the 11th, and there's that game against Washington on November the 18th. And that's a revenge game for Oregon State. This time they get this one at home. Going to be a back-and-forth contest, I believe, since it was last year as well. And then they'll end things out here on November the 24th with a game against Oregon. This game will be on a Friday. An interesting matchup here once again in the rivalry game between Oregon State and Oregon. And yes, Oregon State did defeat Oregon last year, so it's a revenge game here for this Oregon team. Of course, Bo Nix coming back at quarterback. That's huge for them. And Oregon State has to head on the road. But looking at this schedule, it's not really too tough. Mostly their hard games are pretty much at home. Of course, Utah, that will be a pretty tough game. But the good news is they get that game at home. They'll get Washington at home, and they'll also get UCLA at home. And then obviously they'll get Oregon on the road. But that's not too bad of a schedule for this Oregon State team. Let's now get into the projection here for this Oregon State team. And this is the scale I've been pretty much using for my videos throughout these projections. If it's a 1% game, these will stay in the red. 20% and 40% games are pretty much games where they're going to be underdogs in. 20% is about a couple touchdowns. 40% about a touchdown. 50-50 games, these are going to stay in the white. Pretty much games where I think they can go either way. 60% in the purple, these are games where Oregon State's going to be favored by about a touchdown. A couple touchdowns that will stay in the blue, that's about 80%. And then 90%, these are pretty much games where Oregon State will be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the green games here for Oregon State, games they'll be favored in by more than 3 touchdowns. And I got 3 of those on the schedule. I got San Jose State here on the road, UC Davis, and San Diego State. All 3 non-conference games to kick off the month of September. Obviously, UC Davis and San Diego State will both be at home, and then you get San Jose State here on the road. But I think they'll pretty much still be a big old favorite heading into that game, so I don't think they'll have any problems whatsoever in that game. Maybe it will be at 90% by the time we do the prediction, but I think Oregon State still will be favorites heading into that game. And like I said, this is not too tough of a non-conference schedule. They don't have to play like a Power 5 team early in the year, so that's the good news for this Oregon State team. Now we go to the games where Oregon State's going to be favored by about a couple touchdowns, about 80% in the blue. And I got 4 of those on the schedule. I got Cal here on the road, Arizona on the road, Colorado on the road, and then Stanford here at home. Cal, obviously, I think will be a tough test. I mean, it's usually when Cal plays in these home games, they usually have a shot to maybe pull off some kind of upset, but I think Oregon State overall is still going to be about a couple touchdowns of a favorite here. Arizona, obviously, on the road, that could be a tough one there, but I don't really think it will be a problem for Oregon State. And then Colorado here on the road. Like I said, it's a team that you don't want to play in November, but I think they'll pretty much still be about a couple of touchdown favorites. And like I said, this is just based off of the teams from last year. We don't really know what the rosters are going to look like just yet. We don't know who's going to be their starting quarterbacks, and also we don't know what the offense is going to look like. But Colorado definitely heading in the right direction. I just don't think it's going to be this year. Maybe it's about 3 years' time, but other than that, I think there'll still be a couple touchdowns heading into this game as a favorite. Stanford here on the road, no problem here. Stanford kind of in a rebuild year. So yeah, I think all 4 of these games here in the blue are pretty much games where Oregon State's going to be favored by about a couple touchdowns. Now we go to the games where Oregon State's going to be favored by about a touchdown, about 60% in the purple. And I got 2 of those on the schedule. I got Washington State here on the road, and then UCLA here at home. Washington State, pretty much a tough place to play. I think that's pretty much why I have to put it in the purple. And Washington State was actually a pretty good team last year, so I got to put this one in the purple. And then that game against UCLA, that was close to being a 50-50 game for me. I don't know what UCLA is going to look like. I don't know what the roster is going to look like. And you never know. UCLA might not be as good as they were last year. Maybe they don't have any games on the schedule that they'll be favored in. But I got them, at least competing against this Oregon State team. But like I said, it's just based off of the teams from last year. And I think Oregon State, with them, having some kind of guys coming back, I think that's going to help them out. And I think with home field advantage, it's going to help them out as well. But like I said, this is close to being a 50-50 game. But as of right now, I got it in the purple. So, and then the rest of the games here on the schedule, Utah, Washington, and Oregon are all pretty much 50-50 games. Yeah, the good news is you get Utah at home and Washington at home. There's some potential losses there for them, but you have to play Oregon on the road, which is really tough. But yeah, Utah and Washington, at least you get those games at home. That's the good news there on this schedule. So how many games do I see Oregon State there winning out of these 3 games in the 50-50 games? I see them winning 2 out of those 3 games. Like I said, I think it probably comes down, to maybe those home games. Maybe they lose on the road at Oregon. I think that's pretty much their most potential loss there on the road. Maybe Washington State could be a loss. You never know. It's in early September. So, that's a pretty tough place to play as well. But Utah and Washington are quality wins. If they can get some wins there, maybe potential wins there, like I said, Utah and Washington at home. This Oregon State team's probably going to be a playoff contender heading into next year. I know DJ Ogilvy was inconsistent at Clemson, but maybe he's better by this time, and he probably leads Oregon State to a really good season. If he stays healthy, that's going to be good for them. So if you look at this schedule, pretty much, if you look at the games that Oregon State's favored in, and also the games that are 50-50 games, I have no games that they'll be underdogs in this year as of right now. The overall projected record for this Oregon State team in 2023 comes out to be 11-1 for 2023. Now, I think people will be shocked about this projected record here for Oregon State. It's not just about the record. It's really about the schedule. The schedule really sets up nicely for them to have a good season. You've got an easy non-conference schedule. and you also don't have it too tough of a road schedule. Of course, Washington State, I think, will be one of those tough ones in the purple, but Oregon obviously is one of their toughest road games of the year heading into next year. But Arizona, Colorado, I think they will be pretty tough games, but I think, they'll still be big favorites heading into both of those games. Yeah, the schedule really sets up nicely for them. And like I said, they get Utah and Washington both at home, and obviously that one loss could come to Oregon on the road. But you never know, they could probably lose all 3 of those games. Like I said, I think they'll win 2 out of those 3 games on the schedule. But yeah, 11-1 overall projected record for this team, but this could change by the time we do those predictions. But that's my overall projected record for this Oregon State team. Again, we'll do more projections throughout this week. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.